I'm Batman.
The Flash trailer's finally here, because the movie's been in production hell, and sort of post-production hell as well, I suppose, the last year or so. But I'm not going to get into all the Ezra stuff, so let's just get to the trailer. So I'm going to go through the scenes we get here, fill in some plot points, some comic references, and maybe even mention that time that the Flash TV show covered Flashpoint as well. But probably not, because it was terrible. What's the movie about? So the plot is loosely based on the Flashpoint comic in which Barry travels back to the past to save his mother, but then that sort of screws with the present when he gets back. I'm not going to get into it in too much detail, but things are bad. There's no Superman, Bruce Wayne isn't Batman, and the Amazons and the Atlanteans are at war, so all round bad times for everyone involved. And we see a good chunk of the setup for Flashpoint here in this trailer, but it seems like he's travelling between multiverses to me rather than time. Even the intro, we hear Keaton ask Barry, why this world? And oh yeah, there's a few Batmen in this too, maybe even more than that, but I'll get to that later on in the video. So Barry wants to try and save his mum, but it all goes wrong somehow and changes things, exactly like the comic. So Ben Affleck's no longer Batman. We do get a few scenes with him in this seemingly before this all happens, stopping some sort of crime in Gotham. There's the airship that he had in Justice League and a new Bat bike as well. And these scenes were filmed in Glasgow and I got to see some of them, and seeing it now, the way that it should be finished with the effects, it looks brilliant. And before Flashpoint happens, Batfleck warns Barry that all this could go wrong, and of course it does. So, Flashpoint's happened, Keaton's now Batman, there's no Superman or Flash because Barry, well, the Barry that he meets that we see in the trailer doesn't have his powers, or at least doesn't have his powers yet. Because there's a scene with the two of them together where I'm just going to call him the OG Barry is trying to recreate the accident that gave him his powers and made him the Flash with Barry 2. And this is kind of borrowed directly from the comics with a bit of a twist. It also looks as if they're trying to send the lightning through the Batwing or the Batplane down the chain through Barry. It might just be the way that the trailer's edited. As always, we're going to have to wait and see. Now, we know that Barry 2 does have his Flash powers, or he does get them at some point in the movie, because we see this. We also see that he's sort of made his own Flash suit out of a cannibalised Batman one. And there's two different colours of Flash power, so you can tell which one is which during the action sequences. So we've got the new Flash with his ring suit that I think Bruce might have made for him, and that's the Ben Affleck Bruce. And Barry 2's got his own suit made out of an old Batman outfit. And speaking about old Batman, we knew it was coming, but Michael Keaton is back. And yeah, it was totally worth the wait. But what's going on with Bruce Wayne? In the Flashpoint comics, it's Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, who was Batman because, time was changed and all that. So Bruce was killed, and he does help Barry get his powers back. That's Thomas I'm talking about. And also, they go to rescue a certain Superman. But yeah, here it seems that Bruce has hung up the cape, the mansion looks in a bad way, and it seems that he's just kind of retired. I don't think they're going to do a Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight Returns sort of thing. But he's definitely going to suit up in this because we see him in it and he says the line, the one from the start of the video.
I'm Batman.
And it looks as if they're going to rescue a certain Supergirl because again, there's no Superman aka Henry Cavill in this movie after the changes to the timeline. So it does seem that they're adopting the sort of Flashpoint origin for Supergirl and just adapting what it was for Superman in the novels. So what this is basically is she lands on Earth, and instead of being found by, a nice family or the Kents or something like that, she's captured by the government and held underground. So that means no sunlight and no superpowers. And yeah, if you look at this and compare it to the comics, it's pretty much straight out of it there, even down to the S1 on her uniform that we see at the end. The scenes as well that we see where she breaks out and attacks, that's directly out of the pages of the comic as well when Clark gets his power back. And she does seem to be a bit more of an aggressive Kryptonian because if she's never used her powers, she pretty much masters all of them straight away, whereas we know it took Clark a while to get some of them at least right. So speaking of Clark, where is he and why is Zod back? So yeah, Zod, the villain from the Man of Steel, played by Michael Shannon, is back, and man, they must have given him a truckload of money for this. So what's going on? Well, in this timeline, he's never really gone away. And what do I mean by that? So this is the spoilers bit. So with the timeline now being changed, Clark basically never made it off Krypton and was killed as a child. And he didn't make it to Earth, it was Carrot that escaped instead. And Zod seems to be on the same mission that he was in Man of Steel, trying to track down the last Kryptonian. And he basically says, or indicates that in one of the voiceovers that we get in the trailer as well. And Zod's not the only one that's back. I've heard that his right-hand woman Fiora is going to be back as well, although she's not in the trailers. Now, it seems like Zod has been set up to be the big bad villain of this movie because there's quite a few scenes where they're fighting him and it could be the third act of the film. As Barry says, there's no other meta-humans, so Supergirl, Batman and two Flashes are all this world has. And it does seem that they're laying waste exactly the same way that they did that we've seen at Man of Steel in the start of Batman vs Superman. Isn't really the big bad villain. Well, he is, but he's not the main one. I think there's a hidden villain in this film. So spoiler alert again, but it's Barry too, who's going to become the villain in the future thanks to his new Flash powers that he's going to get in this film. So if you've seen the Flash TV show or read the Flashpoint comic, you know that it's a character called the Reverse Flash that goes back in time to kill Barry's mother in order to make sure that Barry becomes the Flash. It's a sort of time loop thing where Barry has to become the Flash for the Reverse Flash to exist, and the Reverse Flash has to exist to help create Barry. So they might do something similar with Barry 2 here, or they might adapt the Black Flash or Red Death. There's a few kind of hints in the trailer. I want to go back and take a closer look. But yeah, this movie looks great. All of Keaton's return stuff and him kicking ass, and a lot of people have been waiting a long time for that to happen. And it's a shame we're not going to see more of it in the Batgirl film, but there's nothing we can do about that, sadly. But Sasha Calle is Supergirl. This is the other standout here. She doesn't say much other than her name, but we get the basic setup that I mentioned. And I wonder how she's going to be different to Clark. Is she going to be snapping necks? Will she be the new Supergirl in the Supergirl movie? Maybe, but although we didn't get too much from her, I like what I see, and I'm looking forward to seeing her in the rest of the movie. The suit looks great with a sort of high neck collar, and it looks a little bit more like a sort of gymnastic, athletic vibe to it, and I think that really works because the Superman suits have been getting a little boring, let's be honest. So let's go over the totals then. We've got 1 Supergirl, 2 Flashes, and 3 Batmen. That's right, I said 3 Batmen. We've got 2 in the trailer, but there's been more than a few reshoots on this film, and no doubt things have been changed at DC with the new leadership, because this film was supposed to reset the DCEU. Now James Gunn might be using it to sort of soft introduce us into his DC franchises. So the rumour is, once the main plot of the film's over, Barry will be stuck in a universe with Batman, but it'll be a Batman of the future, an older Batman, but it's not going to be a new one, it's going to be an old one, either George Clooney or Christian Bale coming back, and yeah, you heard me right, both of those possibilities are absolutely crazy, and I'm not sure how much I believe this, to be honest, but if that did happen, that is going to be wild. And I don't think it is going to be the Batman that's going to be in the new James Gunn DC franchises. I think this is just going to be a little nod, because James Gunn loves a little nod, doesn't he? But what did you think? This is just a quick review of this trailer. I'm going to do a more detailed breakdown later on. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. And if you've made it this far, leave a like on the video as well. What was your favourite parts of the trailer? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you looking forward to this film? Don't talk about the Ezra Miller stuff, please. As always, I'm Al. Thanks for watching.